we are live, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to the Nolan Hawkeye Anthony YouTube channel. And I thank all of you for being here, wherever you may be, and of course, however you may be listening. I have a slight update for you guys. This is a perfect time to do a little car ride video. Iowa received a commitment from kicker Starzyk is his last name, Scott Starzyk. He's the #1 overall specialist in the country. It's kind of hard to parse out the different rankings for the whole kicking situation, because if you really think about it, kicking and punting is a part of football, but it's its own very, very, very unique thing. And like when Iowa offered Starzyk, I looked at various websites for the kicking rankings, and like one site didn't even have him, but the Cole's kicking rankings did have him as the #1, and I suppose Cole's kicking is probably the #1 kicking recruiting service or rating service. So, and then also, is he being rated as like a overall, a punter and kicker? Is it only purely as a kicker? I believe it is overall, like an overall score, because literally 247 Sports has him listed as a punter, which I'm sure will change. But nonetheless, Iowa is bringing him in as a kicker. They offered him a full ride scholarship, which usually they don't do. I'm sure even Drew Stevens, who was one of the better kickers in the country in his recruiting class, was not granted a full ride scholarship. Now, knowing what I know about athletics and things like that, I'm sure that they're given a partial scholarship. They're officially brought on as a preferred walk-on, but I'm sure sooner rather than later they're given some sort of financial aid, what we would call, again, a partial scholarship. But nonetheless, this is a nice get for most schools. I would say that this is kind of just like an average commitment. But for Iowa, I think, given that it is the #1, and secondly, how much Iowa does feature and require consistency from their special teams unit, it's a very big deal. If you look at the points that Iowa scored the last 3 years, a good chunk, I don't know what that exact number is, but a good chunk, I can almost guarantee, not almost, I can guarantee, comes from the kicker. Now, of course, it depends on how you look at it, whether it's a good thing or not. You do want your offense to score more points and be the predominant scoring unit for your football team. But even if Tim Lester is able to turn Iowa into an average offense, the bottom line is Iowa requires a high level of play and consistency from their special teams unit. Kick returner, punt returner, punter, kicker, their snappers, long snappers. Iowa, a program like Iowa, wins in the margins. They're never going to have more, usually even equal to, the talent of other major programs at the main positions: quarterback, wide receiver, running back, offensive line, DB. Even the position groups that Iowa recruits well, tight end, offensive line, defensive line, while still very good, like last year, the defensive line was one of the best classes in all the country combined. Not the best, but one of the best. But still, the other programs that are better are schools like Oregon, Ohio State, Alabama, Michigan. So even when Iowa has a superb class at a certain position, having multiple 4 stars like they did, there's still programs that are better. And that will always be the case unless Iowa is able to become a perennial playoff contender. They play in the national championship and they're able to elevate their prestige. Iowa is currently stuck between what I would label as elite and good. I would label Iowa as a good football program, but I wouldn't say that they're quite elite. They're approaching elite. So nonetheless, what I'm saying is a school like Iowa wins in the margins. They win at the margins. By doing well and winning head-to-head battles on the football field at the position groups that not every team places a huge emphasis on, okay? That is how Iowa is able to compete with those programs. So all of this is to say that when you consider that, this is a good get. When he comes to Iowa, Drew Stevens will have one or 2 years left remaining. I could have sworn I read that he's going to have two years remaining. Well, actually, no. He has 2 years remaining now, which means that if he does not decide to leave early this year and he comes back to Iowa for his final year, that would give Scott and Trip Woody, who was definitely one of the best kickers in the country last year, not the best, out of North Carolina, who Iowa has on the roster, it will give them each another year of refinement, especially in the weight room, in order to bolster their power and explosiveness. That's the main thing that a kicker from high school to college has to work on, is their explosion and power, and adding some weight, because they usually come to college nothing more than a twig. So this is a nice get. We'll see how it all shakes out, but just, from the outside looking in, this is a good get. And at the very least, if Drew Stevens comes back, it will give Scott a year of development, which is good. Lastly, this class, out of the official visit weekend, perhaps I'll do one more video once maybe one more guy drops. But suffice it to say, the last 2 main targets on the board are Terrence Smith out of Illinois, the 4-star wide receiver, who's down to Iowa and Minnesota, and Yossi Epinesa. I did a video saying that On3 has a crystal ball. They have a publisher with a 60% confidence meter that he's going to go to Miami. Now, his accuracy rating is not very good. It's below 70%, which is not good. It should be at 80. To really give a prediction credence, you want to look for a publisher who has 80% accuracy or above. Those are the 2 main individuals. If Iowa is able to land at least one of the 2, I would consider the official visit weekend successful. Not as successful as it could have been, obviously. Not as good as it was last year, but successful nonetheless. But I really think Iowa obviously should be shooting for landing the last 2 remaining guys. If they can do that, I will definitely consider this official visit weekend a success, resoundingly, putting Iowa in an excellent position to really round out the class and put them in terrific shape. I don't think, regardless of if they get 1 or 0 or 2 of the remaining guys, that it will be considered as good as last year's, because Iowa last year hit at a 99% clip. They landed everybody but 1 guy. And obviously there's been 2 or 3 guys that Iowa missed on Christian Hudson They missed on Joshua Guerrera, DB, and they missed on offensive lineman Brock Heath. All right, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. Like, comment, share, subscribe. And last but not least, DBAP, don't be a pussy will on facts or feelings, because your feelings just don't matter. Love you guys. See you guys next time. Go Hawks. Bye-bye.